4,
4,
3,
3,
2, 1, go. What did you just do? Why did you... Michael Jackson? Is that you? All right, welcome to the CodeX Cantina. I am Una.
I am Dad. You didn't get my joke.
What's your joke?
I am Dad.
Your dad.
Mom, Dad. It's funny.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The guy's last name.
Oh, because instead of M-A-U-G-H-A-M, you're M-O-M-D-A-D. I get it. All right. Now, this story was originally published in 1921 in The Trembling of a Leaf, and we'll put the link to read it for free from the Gutenberg Project. Now, Mr. Crypto, in terms of writing style, I've been putting a lot of thought into this. Okay, I already know. I already know what you're gonna say.
What am I gonna say?
I feel like when you go into something negative, okay, and you went into this negative, all right?
I had my cranky pants on, I will agree.
We have been doing a lot of hard alcohol shots of literature, right? Like Hemingway, Faulkner, like you read some of those sentences and they hit you right in the chest and they take some of your breath away, right?
We've had some good quotes.
We've been doing Stephen King, right? So that's kind of like, I would say, a craft beer, right? You can drink that. It's still got a good taste to it, but sometimes you drink a little bit too much and you kind of forget what exactly was happening. Like there's a lot of it, right? That's Stephen King. This, I think, is kind of new to our channel because it's in between. This is fine wine. You can tell there was a lot of love and passion put into the creation of this product. That doesn't mean you're going to like it, but you can appreciate how much effort went into creating one of Mom's short stories.
So I think it's fine that I'm a little bit bitter. Come on, it's another good dad joke. Wine is bitter.
I award you 0 points.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. This is a different style short story than some of the juggernauts that we've digested so far. And I'm putting it in a category that it should not, and putting it up against caliber of stories that are not in the same class. And that's not fair. So, but I did read it twice, and I think that I will give it its due diligence tonight. I think
you just got to read it. You got to learn how to, you had to learn how to read Faulkner.
Yes. You
got to slow down, and the way you pronounce things is weird. You are still developing your mom legs of what is the pace and how do I read this, I feel like.
Yeah, I think because his stories are different venues of getting a story across than the others. He uses characters different, I feel like. Yes? No?
No, I'd agree with that. He definitely does.
Okay.
All right, so this story is about, I feel like, how do I live my life? And I think there's a sub-question in here, too, about sharing and clashing of cultures, I think is really what I took away from this.
Yes, I agree.
Well, it's positioned as kind of like an East versus West.
Yep.
I think you can apply this to many different things in terms of choosing college careers, in terms of whether you go through a big job position, whether you move to a new city for, kids, wife, family, job, that sort of thing. This is representative of that big moment of how should I live my life, I feel like. And you kind of have to project what is it like to do this alternate option. Now, in terms of structure, I think it's kind of interesting because it kind of has like the BAC approach where it starts kind of in the middle-ish where
stuff's already happened.
You get all this tension of just like, oh, I'm going to have to tell her. I'm going to have to tell her what happened. And I feel like Mom being a master storyteller, instead of it being just like a past tense recollection, you actually go back to the A. You start to live the character of Bateman understanding the choices that Edward already went through. It's like a post exploration. And then it jumps back to C for the results of when he tells what happens with Edward, basically. I don't think it's that confusing, but I like the way that it's not just a simple past tense flashback. You get to vicariously explore it through character experience, which is, I think, going to what you were talking about earlier with how Mom writes. It's neutral, it's hypnotic and flat, but it makes you experience everything the characters experience.
Yeah, I think that's the best word to describe it, is it's flat. And I feel like as I'm going through this, I already know the ending to the story, and the exposition that's happening between the characters feels flat. And I don't feel like a lot was given. I felt like too much was given to me. Yes, I think that he's a master storyteller, but I don't know.
Well, let's go through this, because we need to talk about this, because this is literature. This isn't children's literature, right? Okay. It's not going to tell you what to think or feel. It's putting you through a real life. And the problem, if he was telling you how to feel, then it wouldn't really be literature.
Maybe it's too much like real life. That was my problem with it, maybe.
All right, let's jump into this. So, rearranging it chronologically, basically 2 Chicago men, Edward and Bateman, fall in love with a Chicago woman. Her views and opinions... Yeah, with the same woman. Her views and opinions are exacting and final according to the narrative. Edward wins and proposes to Isabel. We learn that her uncle was accused of fraud in the past and flees to Tahiti. Soon, tragedy befalls Edward's dad's business, and he heads to Tahiti for greener financial pastures. When letters start to lose their spark after a few years, Bateman, the ever friend-zoned Chicagoan, agrees to side trip to Tahiti to check on his friend Edward. Now, he finds Edward has been fired from the job he was sent to do there. Works at a small trade shop, lost his ambition, but is content in his new life and lacks the strength to talk to Isabel about their betrothal. They offer Bateman a chance to join them on the island, but he turns it down and returns back to Isabel. There, they kind of hook up and lament Edward's unfortunate circumstance. And that's kind of it, but the plot, this is not a plot piece, this is a character piece. This is
character piece. Yep.
What do I do with my life? What would make me happy, right?
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot more to it, as you hinted at the beginning of the video, that there is this clash of cultures here, and maybe clash of ideas of what will make you happy in life. And I think that Edward is living beyond his years, and Bateman and Isabel have not caught up yet, right? So, and again, I think reading this, if you're reading this in college right now, you're Bateman, you're Isabel. But if you're us reading it, where we're midlife and we have a family and a home and a career and everything, it tells a very different story for us, and we're more sympathetic with Edward than we are with Bateman. Even though we understand him, we're going to side more, I think, with that. And that makes a big difference when reading this story, I think, is your own personal journey in life.
I disagree.
Okay.
I think this is an example where you can take this. You can't look at this as proposing just this one moment of, do I run away to Tahiti? And I think even as a young man, if you ever been on vacation and it's so awesome, like when you were in Key West, did you not at some point be like, okay, well, how much money can I save up and just live here because this is awesome and I don't want to go back to the real world? Like that's a thought process that you go through. Now the individual.
But I did that.
Yes, that's.
I lived there for 3 years.
That's my point, right?
Yeah.
You made that choice in the same way that Edward and Bateman come to very different choices. And I don't think it matters where you are in life. It's what do you want to do with your life at that point in time. And it's presented as East versus West, but it doesn't have to be East versus West. It doesn't have to be young versus old. This is a point in time of a person's life to look at something. I'll give you an example. I was just recently talking with a friend who's kind of going through his version of a midlife crisis right now. He's a small business owner, and we had a good talk about an hour and a half sitting over there in my chairs over there about what's next. And he's a single man, successful business owner, and he's looking for his next thing, but he doesn't know what it is. Is it love? Is it the next business adventure? He even talked about moving states. He has all this anxiety right now about wanting to further his life, but he's not sure what the right answer is. And we started talking through it, and a lot of it came down to progress. He wanted to further progress in something, and particularly probably more of the love interest and professional career. And one of the options he threw out there was just moving cities. And we started talking about that, about how that didn't really further your progress into either one of those areas, right? He was looking at it as an experience. It would be a fun experience to move to a new location, right?
Okay.
This is much bigger than just Tahiti is the relaxed life. Let's jump into this a little bit right here. So in terms of how he characterizes stuff in the story, Chicago represents what in this story, Crypto?
Materialism, in my mind.
All right, so here's this quote. He was at home, and he was glad that he had been born in the most important city in the United States. San Francisco was provincial. New York was effete. The future of America lay in the development of its economic possibilities, and Chicago, by its position and by the energy of its citizens, were destined to become the real capital of the country. If you replace Chicago with this being a person, so instead of Chicago was the height of its economic possibilities, and you said Bateman was at the height of his economic possibilities, and by position of his energy, he was destined to become the capital. He was able to find his next. This is a point in time where what he's looking for is not a reset or an experiential thing. He's looking for his next big thing, which might be the position change, the career change, the love interest, that sort of thing. Now, if you look at the island, okay, so that kind of represents future, a next step. If you look at the island, okay, what would you have said the island represents?
Nature, or I don't know.
I think those are fine interpretations. I'm not saying they're wrong.
Yeah.
But let's dig into this.
Or personal happiness or fulfillment. And that's not the exact way that I would want to word it, but...
No, I struggled with this too, right? So here's this quote. I shall build myself a house on my coral island, and I shall live there, looking after my trees, getting the fruit out of the nuts in the same way they have done for unnumbered years. So to me, the city is the man that's looking for, or woman that's looking for, the next economical life step. The island is the person who doesn't want to shake the boat. They want to keep doing things the way we've always done it. And this is recharacterized later on, again, with the coconuts, right?
Okay.
So if you remember...
I have a little bit different interpretation, but okay. I'm following your logic.
And that's fine. But the coconuts, he went there to automate, to modernize, to proceduralize the coconuts. Why are we shipping the coconuts off to a separate place? We could extract what we need from the coconut here and then just ship the extract as opposed to the whole coconut. But then what happened? He became lazy. He became incompetent. According to who? According to progress, according to the Chicagoan city industrial future firms. What he found was that there wasn't a need to improve the current process. He could be happy doing things the way that he has always done them. And he is finding out that his next step is not changing things, but to currently live the way that he is and just feel connected with, I think you were saying kind of the nature thing earlier too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what's the food that they ate?
Is it shrimp? What would they eat? I can't remember.
It was fish. It was raw fish.
Oh, the fish, not shrimp.
And he said that that's how he would live, is he would just sit there and eat fish, and he'd eat it raw, representing that the fish is not being proceduralized. It doesn't have to go through all these extra steps. In the same way that he viewed that's where his life was. He didn't want to have to go through all those steps. He wanted to represent the island life, the more relaxed, retired life, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I just kind of looked at that from a different perspective of the material hustle and bustle of life, and accepting that that's not going to make you happy. And I guess I look at it from, I think a lot of times that takes years of experience to understand that. And like your friend, you know, he may be getting to that point of, all right, I'm 40 years old and I have this successful business and I have all these things, but I'm not happy. And I guess I figured that out as a very young man. I was sitting in college and I was taking a chemistry class and I realized this is not what I want to do. And this is not going to make me happy. And I need to find something that will make me happy, and that the money or the materials or this will not do that for me. And
we just found it, Crypto. We just found it.
Chemistry was my coconut.
No, we found it. We found this was presented in a flat manner. In no way, shape, or form did Mom clearly indicate which way was superior. You, as a reader, projected your standards onto this, and everything you just described said that materialism was bad. And that is not what Mom put here at all. You projected onto the story. Like, it's kind of like we talked about with the A Good Man is Hard to Find, where she tricks you into playing whether you judge the grandmother to be a good person or a bad person. Here, Mom is doing the same thing, where he's talking about what's your next. And we found out what yours is, and that's the island life of not rocking the boat.
I guess I can see that. I mean, I'm projecting that material possessions, money, power are not going to make you happy, but I would argue that most people come to that realization at some point in their life that when you die, you can't take it with you. And I would argue that if Mom wrote the sequel to this, Bateman and Isabel would realize that being the hoity-toities of Chicago is not going to make them happy. They're going to be divorced and fighting over their kids, and I think that, and again, that's what I think.
You wanted him to put on the dang pareo, didn't you?
I think that even Mom is trying. I think that Mom favors Edward over Bateman. The story's named after him, you know, and it's what he chose. And I think that is it named after him, or is it named after his fall? Because that's the negative perception of Bateman and Isabel. Right.
So is it really named after him, or is it named after the industrialized view of it?
I think it's
you were stuck on this, and I'm not disagreeing. I think it's a fair interpretation. Yeah. I'm just saying this was delivered flat, and you are projecting your answers onto it, I think. Which is good literature.
I agree, but I disagree.
Which is good literature. I do agree with you, too. You said something there that you think Mom would choose Edward's path, and I think I agree, based on what we've read from his travels and what he did with his life. I think I agree, but I don't think that's how he structured this story.
Okay.
Because at the end, Bateman and Isabel specifically say poor Edward, from the point of view of just like, boy, that guy's got it bad. Boy,
of course they did.
He didn't choose our way.
Yeah.
So he's got it worse. And that's the same thing Edward's saying. He didn't choose the island life. He's got it worse. Put the dang pareo on, Bateman. Come on. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to one of the questions we said earlier, which was with cultures. When you go to visit someone, do they not want to share that culture with you? Right? Like, oh, come see, you know, our big town's central gathering. Come see our museum. Built into it, and even look at books. When you find an awesome book, don't you recommend it to your friend? Like, you got to check this book out. There's something.
Yeah, we love sharing stories and culture and our heritage and everything. Yeah, it's innately in us as a peoples.
Why?
I think that's how we express ourselves. And I think that's how we subconsciously judge others. That if we have a connection, that means I maybe like you more or less. I think it's a little bit psychological.
I think I do see that, and I think that makes me sad that sometimes we become so one-dimensional of, well, we do the same thing, so we must like each other, or we don't do the same thing, so we hate each other. I have this feeling that when we share, we're trying to show other people how we live. And I'm going to go back to my original point of This story's question, while it was East and West, while it was cultural materialism and then just kind of like just bare minimalism, this was a case study of showing someone how you live, sharing your culture with someone else. Put the pareo on, eat our raw fish, right? Put this headdress on. Why don't you stay well? Just stay the night, relax a little bit. This is them trying to show Bateman how Edward and Arnold now live. And you do that, I think, via sharing your interests to this point. That's what I think. I think that's the nuance that I was trying to get across.
No, yeah, I get it. I get it. I think, just again, not like to beat a dead horse here, I feel like Mom is favoring Edward because Bateman has only lived this one side, and he's not sharing in the culture. And Edward is like, I've lived that. I've been in Chicago. I've done that. Try this. Try this. Try this. You know, you might like it. And you know, maybe that's a whole different talking point of just trying new cultures, trying new food, trying new language, trying new books, you know, meeting new people, you know, listening to their stories. And sometimes you'll surprise yourself and you'll be like, wow, I, you know, didn't know that I liked that food, or I didn't know that I liked that, you know, wine, or I did, you know, to bring it back full circle to our drinking analogy here. I think that I feel like he favors Edward in this story because he's lived both sides of the coin.
I know you feel that way. But that doesn't mean that it was presented that way.
I think it was.
Prove it.
The name of the story is Edward.
The Fall
Barnard.
of Edward Barnard.
Barnard.
Okay. All right. So what I have lined up is pretty soon I have this kind of similar concept. What do I do with my life? And I'm not saying it's wrong to say this was about East versus West clashing. I think why you have these cultures clashes and why you share these cultures is you're showing other people how you live. But next, in a couple weeks, we're going to do Eveline by James Joyce, which follows this exact same question. And I'm excited to see in a much different light, but I'm excited to see what you think of that one.
No, I loved Arby's, so.
All right, let's go to ratings. I'm going to go with a healthy 8.5 on this one.
Whoa. Wow. You're Team Edward. Am I Team Bateman?
Well,
we should got shirts. We should got shirts. Team Edward. Team.
Well,
Bateman.
hang on. Did this not just prove our point again? I never once said I was Edward, but since you thought I was against you, you automatically placed me on the other side.
You are against me.
Think about that. Think about what just happened there.
You're against me.
See?
If you're not with me, you're against me.
You just proved that point. All right, come on, give me a rating.
6.5.
Okay. Okay.
From a story perspective. Now, you and I had a great discussion, a dialogue, and I think that it's worth. I think it's worth discussion. I think there's a lot of philosophical depth here of the point of culture and sharing and how you're supposed to live your life and how to interpret one might want to live their life and question their own existence. And that's really deep. I just thought the story itself was, as you put it, flat.
Does a story get extra points for that? If it does lead to more discussion, do you allow it to get a higher rating as a result?
Yes, I could. And
okay.
I can give my rating in our wrap-up.
The recommendation. Okay.
Yeah. So my recommendation is always different from my score, and I think that's why we always try to do those videos and why we rank them a little different than our numbers.
Yeah, no, that's fair. All right, guys, we do literature breakdowns all the time, posting videos at least 2 times a week, sometimes 3. Please subscribe for more literature breakdowns. Una out.
Peace.